5 is the magic number. 5 different goal scorers, and Bayern Munich decides to wake up after drawing with Borussia Dortmund last weekend. They said, you know what? Enough of this. Let's get to being Bayern Munich. Miguel Echegaray, LME here with Shaka, Hislop. Shaka, Bayern Munich with 5 different goal scorers, and Julian Nagelsmann's team finally saying to themselves, look, let's do what we do in the Bundesliga, the same thing that we're doing in the Champions League. Let's get going. Your initial thoughts over this game?
Yeah, every time we start to ask ourselves questions about Bayern Munich, it seems they answer them resoundingly. We started this season asking, how do Bayern Munich cope without Robert Lewandowski? Sadio Mane comes in, not a like-for-like replacement. But as you mentioned, LME, given last weekend's result, this was the answer that everybody was asking for. They aren't necessarily relying on the out-and-out goals of Lewandowski. They're sharing them around. 5 different goal scorers, as you mentioned. And let's remind ourselves that we started this morning kind of wondering who the discussion would be around this Bundesliga title challenge. Would it be Dortmund, as we've come to expect? They lose earlier in the day. Would it be Freiburg, who are sitting second? You see what Bayern Munich do to them. So it's left with just Union Berlin and Bayern sitting on top of the Bundesliga. And in all honesty, kind of as I mentioned, given the conversations that we were maybe thinking about having a couple hours ago, the result against a team that started the day sitting in second has probably put a quick end to all of that.
It's a good thing we do these digital videos, Shaka, because we can quickly change, our commentary from the morning to the afternoon and the evening. But rightly so, just like you said, Robert Lewandowski's exit is quickly replaced. But no, not just Sadio Mane, but of course, many different talented players. Let me ask you something, because obviously today, the win against Freiburg means that they leapfrog, and now they are second, looking up at Union Berlin, amazingly, in first place. Is there anything more that you expect from Bayern moving forward? Today, for example, no Thomas Müller, no Manuel Neuer. That didn't matter. It's a good, deep squad. But do you expect anything more as the weeks approach, especially before the World Cup gets going?
To that point about who's missing, no Musiala either, who's been simply outstanding for them all season long. And that's the thing. Bayern Munich are by far and away the giants of German football. They've got the deepest squad. And the real questions we start to ask of them in the latter part of the season, when the Champions League knockout gets going. How will they be faring? When we spoke earlier, you made mention of Union Berlin not having any midweek action. That can be telling, as can the World Cup break in mid-season. So there's still a lot of uncertainty around this season that everybody has to contend with. But more times than not, we are talking about Bayern making deep runs into the Champions League and wondering how that affects their seasons. But normally, when we get to those conversations, they are so far out ahead of everybody else that it's academic. You're kind of wanting to see them drop points more just for the sake of a title race than really through expectation. Now, all of a sudden, they haven't been as dominant as they had been in previous seasons. And given, again, the uncertainties around this season, maybe we will genuinely be having those conversations come March or April time. But for right now, let's enjoy Bayern rediscovering themselves post Robert Lewandowski, sharing the goals around. Let's enjoy Union Berlin making a title race at the early part of this season anyway and putting up a credible challenge. We wait to see what comes, but right now the Bundesliga is taking shape very nicely indeed.
Well said, my friend. Couldn't put it better myself. Union Berlin 4 points ahead of Bayern Munich, and Bayern, just like Bruce Banner, wakes up like the Incredible Hulk and decides to scare everybody in sight. So everybody watch out, because Bayern Munich is coming to town.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.